The strangest thing about this movie is that this is probably one of the most avoidable tragedies ever. In the case of Nicholas Markowitz, the truth was definitely stranger than fiction. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Alpha Dog. Now, this movie is from 2006 and it stars Anton Yelchin, Ben Foster, Justin Timberlake, Sharon Stone, just a whole bunch of all-stars here. Now, before we get into all things euphoria, all of this glee, privilege, downright stupidity, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, and then we're going to come back and discuss. This was a first time watch for me. Though I was not surprised by its ending, I was more so surprised at how we even got there. How did we get there? Let's discuss it.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the video, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for and requested this film. So if you happen to want to prove yourself as the undisputed alpha dog, it's not because of me, it's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now, getting into this movie was written and directed by Nick Cassavetes. I had no clue who this man was, but immediately when I saw his face, I knew where I knew him from. Not only did he direct movies like John Q and The Notebook, but he was an actor first. So you may recognize him from movies like Mask, movies like Face Off, and my personal favorite, movies like Life. As soon as I saw that face, I was like, oh, you're running foul to Bob, you're running foul to me. We don't need no fences here at Camp 8. You know, you run past that gun line and your ass gonna get shot. I was like, oh, look at him. The more you know. Now, what I wasn't familiar with was this story at all and the actual truth that it is based in. The murder of 15-year-old Nicholas Markowitz. Due to a feud over old drug money via his older brother that had absolutely nothing to do with him, he is beat up, kidnapped, and eventually murdered. Now, this movie absolutely personifies its title right away of what it means to be an alpha dog, or just be alpha in general, being dominant, being superior to the other people who may be surrounding you, being aggressive, being hyper masculine, all the time trying to appear as tough, strong, and powerful. We see this right away in both of our lead characters of Benjamin Markowitz here portrayed as Jake Mazursky and Johnny Truelove portraying Jesse James Hollywood. Now, of course, once I found out that this was based on a true story, I had to do some digging on the real life characters. But in doing that, I felt like there were so many other parallels between our two lead characters that made them so similar that was left out of the story. They were both pretty much the same age. They grew up as childhood friends. They were both really great baseball athletes when they were younger. Both consistently supported and uplifted in their fuckery by both of their fathers. Both Caucasian, both come from these upper to middle class suburban ass backgrounds and are quite privileged with tons of potential and options and paths that they can choose to go on in their life. But somehow both of them wind up getting involved in drugs, and that's whether they are selling them or whether they are deciding to use them. Now, of course, I cannot go any further with this freaking review without discussing Ben Foster and his performance here first. Ben Foster here as Jake High-Key Benjamin Markowitz. What the is going on? I have never researched something so hard. You would think with what happens in this movie, the most research and using my cat eye that I would do would be to check on the victim. No, was too busy going down rabbit holes just to try to figure out if the portrayal of Benjamin, Jake, was real here, because, oh my God. Like the way that Ben Foster is eating up the scenery in this movie, as soon as he is on screen, he is dominating and taking over with such a great performance. It's right, borderline with over the top, but it is just so freaking good. Jake here is an addict. He is addicted to what seems to be a combination of crystal meth and speed. He is constantly tweaking, over the top, irrational, and those pupils are dilated to hell. Now, Jake here in the portrayal that is giving, he is way past just strictly being some angry addict. No, he is a psychopath with a hint of serial killer in the making, with a hint of just downright lunatic. What I found on the real life person, it would explain some of the behavior here, and why already at the age of 20, his father and his stepmother have all of pretty much washed their hands with him and his behavior. And for the better part of the movie, they are really, especially the mom, she is really trying to avoid her son turning out like the brother. Now, of course, the father has remarried, so he is a half brother. And I think this lent to some of the guilt that he felt as to why he had to continue to help him out, lend him money, even though he could clearly see that his son is a drug addict. And then this is also when we get into Benjamin's complex of feeling like somebody owes him something. It pretty much goes beyond the borderline of, I need money to use drugs. It's like, no, you owe me this. Just give me this. I deserve this. Like, everybody here in this movie is just so goddamn entitled to the point that it got on my nerves. Because though we are just 20, between the ages of probably 11 and 17, we've already been arrested. We've got into theft. We've joined a gang, got into white supremacy, these suburban white kids, and all of this toxic behavior that has been going on, and it's going unchecked by everybody around them, especially their parents. They are, giving chance after chance, let off easy, spoon-fed, and constantly pacified with money. So by the time we are of age and we get out into the real world, we feel like we are owed something. Everybody here in this movie is all of 20, and we are looking at the easy way out as far as, working for a day's living. The laziness here coming up off of these children and adult bodies was so real. So by the time we have washed our hands with somebody like Jake, and we have Sharon Stone here as the stepmom, giving her best ginger at the casino, all the slaps. Oh, it was ginger. I don't care. She was giving ginger. By the time we want to be done with it, it is too late. Even though you feel like he is a piece of, the person who doesn't is Zach. Zach not only looks up to his brother, but he wants to be just like him. Now, in the case of Johnny True Love here, he is a punk if I ever seen one. Like, he is literally the definition of somebody pretending to be an alpha male. There is all of this constant misogyny coming up off of him, all of this disrespect. He always has something to say, when low-key, he probably would not bust a grape in a fruit fight. But we get to see what being the alpha male of a group, especially a impressionable weed smoking group, can do for you. He has all of this leadway, all of this constant control over every single one of the flunkies that surround him and his crew. He not only has control, but he is revered, respected. They hang on to his every word, and they almost obey his every single command. And it is just like, really? Like, for what? I swear I was just like, are they just smoking weed, or are they on something else? Because, man. Now, everybody wasn't here just strictly smoking weed. Everybody in this crew was also working for him. He is giving out weed, on consignment. You sell it, flip it, make a profit. If you use it, do anything else with it, and you are indebted, then you owe me a favor. Now, of course, we see this with every single member in his crew, but we see this the most when we get into the character of Elvis. And we see that being indebted to somebody like Johnny could be something as small as being ridiculed, tormented, and the subject of embarrassment at every single function, or just downright servitude to where you are waiting on him hand and foot. Now, I don't know exactly what was going on with Elvis, because a lot in this movie, especially when we get into our Justin Timberlake character, and child, I'm gonna get to him because but there is this, running gag or joke through the movie where his manhood and sexuality is constantly coming into question because he is willing to go above and beyond in the name of, I'm doing something for Johnny. Now we have things escalate to a point of no return when we have Jake, who just can't seem to get the $1,200 together to pay that Johnny, because this whole murder, death, kill is over $1,200. Now, of course, in the movie and in the real life story, it is alluded to some sort of insurance scam to where Johnny lost out on $30K, and this was the result of Jake and his irrational behavior. But at that particular moment that escalated the entire situation, we are strictly talking about a drug debt of $1,200. Do not raise up on me like you try to raise up on your flunkies out there, because I am not that dude. Not only am I not that dude and I'm crazy, but I know who you are. Now, of course, we have Johnny's head pumped up because we are constantly surrounded by people, whether it is male or female, feeding into our ego. As long as you respect me as the alpha dog and remember that I am the man, I am in control. Jake says, fuck all that. I don't care about anything. What possessed Johnny to roll up on and think that he can take down somebody like Jake? Oh my goodness, like the Taekwondo black belt of it all. I was looking so hard to figure out if the scenes in this movie actually happened, and I could not find anything outside of him being really into advanced martial arts and being capable of the stuff that we see here. I could not confirm that this actually happened. Like, the whoop ass that was happening here, courtesy of Drake, was absolutely crazy. The number of people that he was able to take down at that house party all by himself, absolutely insane. But even with all of that, the strongest threat that actually comes off of someone like Jake is the fact that he is actually that menace of an alpha dog and will do what he says he is going to do. Which is why when we have Jake decide to retaliate on Johnny for threatening him at his house party, we have the hanger-ons, we have the flunkies come out to save Johnny. He was not capable of handling himself against somebody like Jake. Not only do they save him, but he proves even further as to why he isn't the alpha and he won't do some of the shit that he is talking about. We don't, try to handle things with our hands. We go inside to grab a gun for protection that we never actually planned to use. We only wanted to flex in front of our group. We can never go back from this moment. From this point on, it is on site. And when I say on site, I mean break into your house, vandalize it, on your carpet on site, like, oh my God, completely crazy. But as we were pooping on this carpet, where was Johnny True Love? Johnny True Love was hiding, holding that gun. He was so scared and it was so obvious, which is why when our crew came, we made it seem like we weren't in the house when it was getting robbed. We don't know what's going on, but he really feels like, as that alpha dog, he has a reputation to uphold and that he needs to make a statement. Why? Not with Jake. Like, that whole moment of Jake yelling, shoot me. If you pull a gun out, you better shoot me. There's no turning back. That energy that he gave at work when he was getting fired, acting like he was clean. I'm clean. I'm sober. I will drag you down to hell with me. Oh my God. It is just so frightening. I need this job. I need this job. I know you took my brother, and you better pray. You better pray the cops find you before I do, because I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna slit your throat, and I'm gonna get hard. You better pray. You better Jake is a whole DC Marvel villain origin story in the making. psychotic. Now, while I was watching and loving Ben Foster's performance here so much, there were other performances that I did not love oh so much and were a little inconsistent for me. Like, it's already a little over the top because this is supposed to be the early 2000s, so the slang being used, the music playing in the background, child. If I had to hear like suck my cock, when we're like, why white people always saying cock? I'm over it. Justin Timberlake here, it was just so inconsistent for me. Him here as Frankie, like, I don't know why it sounded like his voice was up so many octaves. Like, I don't know if this was a thing that was happening in the early 2000s, but it just sounded like it was at the tone of like an Alvin and the Chipmunks, and it just kept taking me out of pocket. In some scenes, he was on point and he was delivering, and this was one of his pretty early acting roles, so maybe, you know, he was still learning at this point. And the pitch was given, it's gonna be May. I was shut up, every little thing I do. It was given bye bye bye. It was given got time, but I don't. Grab your girls and you grab a couple more. It's gonna be May. I just wanted him to shut up like for a little while. But be that as it may, Frankie is such an odd character. Frankie is in no way indebted to Johnny True Love in any way. He is just mostly here as a people pleaser, and he is trying to flex. For the most part, Frankie just wants to be lazy and he wants to sleep with some girls and smoke some weed the entire time. But we also have moments of him trying to display his superiority, his worth, which gets him in trouble trying to display that alpha male energy, or even take part in a kidnapping, mostly harboring the kidnappee just because somebody told me to, and this has absolutely nothing to do with me. The sad thing about Frankie, you see throughout the movie that he absolutely knows better. You see different scenarios of him trying to work his way out of it. You know, this can't be that serious. Maybe we should let the kid go. But it's just going about this far. He is not really taking that initiative to get Zach home because, like everybody else, he is lost and has no direction and is being a follower. Like, oh, I was so annoyed with everybody. Now, speaking of me being annoyed, sadly, the person who probably annoyed me the most in this movie above everyone is our victim, Zach. Though he was younger, like, this entire situation was just so avoidable, and it just hurt me to see him just be so cavalier and nonchalant about being kidnapped. But prior to us ever getting to him being kidnapped, the behavior that he was displaying, it upset me because you just get to see these patterns that are repeating with every single male character that is in our face. Not only his brother, but Johnny True Love, Frankie, you know, just Elvis, like they are all on the same freaking wavelength of nothingness. Now, Anton Yelchin, who I remember mostly from movies like The Green Room, the Star Trek films, the remake of Fright Night, he was such a great up-and-coming young actor, and you really see it displayed here in this early role. He did a very good job, and you know, just RIP to him. But Zach here, like everybody else, is just so lost. He's frustrated, he's unmotivated, and he is in such a rush to partake in all of the other activities that we see all of our other male characters take part in, especially when it comes to his brother, who he looks up to, who is totally a bad influence. Not that it's not absolutely normal to be a 15-year-old and want to kind of be your own person, really start to kind of rebel, but the difference is that he is just not trying to rebel. He is trying to escape. He is so eager to jump into the drugs, you know, start off with a little weed, drinking, sex, all of this stuff that is surrounding him to escape, of all people, his own mother, and this overload of, all of this support, all of this constant generosity, uplifting me, looking over me, all of this guidance, all of this affection. It is just all too much. Like, excuse me? Now, of course, I was taking it in that this is a teenager, this is a child, and he really doesn't know what's best for him. But it's not like it was just him. We have, the same thing with the upwards of the 21-year-olds. Just, all of this privilege is just so aggy. Like, please pull me away from this 2-parent household in the suburbs with 2 incomes who want to push me to prosper, to go to college, to achieve something. Like, I need to get out of here. Like, what? Like, seeing that portrayed on screen every single time blows my mind. It did not stop with Bully, and it definitely did not stop here. I have to draw the line at, us being young and not knowing any better when we become absolutely kidnapped, realize the severity of the situation, and we decide to stay there and revel in it and, live it up because this is considered a break from our everyday lives, and it's just, not that serious. Somebody rolled up on you in a white van, whipped your ass, taped you up, threw you in the back, and took you to a house. Like, when was it gonna get real? It never got real, and sadly, it didn't get real for him until it was too late. Like, I just wished he could have been capable of saving himself, because in watching the movie, all he had to do was get up and just walk away. Now, of course, I am not trying to victim shame, because this was a baby. This was not his fault, and he did not kidnap himself. Speaking of being kidnapped, supposedly, we are kidnapping the baby brother to make a point. Maybe we could hold him for ransom to get this raggedy ass $1,200. Maybe this is just me trying to display my alphaness, and I was never going to do a damn thing in the first place, and it escalated far beyond, and somebody lost their freaking lives. Like, it was just, it was just making me mad. The fact that immediately after we kidnapped him, we didn't even know what to do with him or how to go about it. Like, everything here was just so senseless. I just really hated the fact that there were so many things working against somebody like Zach that he had no control of. Now, of course, him himself, he didn't mind being kidnapped. This is my time away, my break. But not only do we have like 5 senseless 20-year-olds surrounding you that you are looking up to and revering maybe just as much as you do your brother, especially when it comes to somebody like Frankie and the bond that you are having, because he wants so much just to be like them. Just so impressionable. And speaking of that, all of these parents that are surrounding them have a hand in it. When we get into Johnny Truelove's father, portrayed here by Bruce Willis, it is pretty understated in this movie, but supposedly he wasn't some good do-well local suburban coach. He was also into drug trafficking and, selling all these other criminal activities like, mafia, all of these other ties. And once his son decided, I'm injured, I can't be an athlete anymore, there's just nothing else in the world that I can do as a 17 or 18-year-old than start selling drugs and really low-key working with my father. Of course, he is uplifted in that, and his dad and his grandfather couldn't be more proud as long as he is displaying some of that toxic, masculine, alpha dog ass energy. Like, it is just absolutely insane. So since we are uplifted and, revered in activities like that, when we do something like commit a crime, as far as kidnapping, we are only thinking of our son and how to get him out of it, easy ways out. Like, nobody here held their children accountable for anything. Of course, the same can be said when we get into Zach and Jake's brotherhood. Like, the selfishness was real. The fact that he could have had an opportunity to leave and go. We weren't only thinking of this kidnapping as being a break, but I don't want to leave and have something, happen to my brother, or have there, be any type of repercussions on his end, owing some money, and I am running away. Let me stay here. I want nothing more than to be like my brother and protect him. All along, low-key, your brother couldn't give 2 damns about you. Now, of course, the brother is an addict, but for you to know exactly who took your brother, what is going on, he is kidnapped for the upwards of 3 to 4 days. The parents have lost their mind, especially when we get into Sharon Stone here portraying the mother. She absolutely loses it and loses herself. Like, she's in a panic. He's considered, missing. We've called the police. You know where he is. You know the stakes, but you, like everybody else, you're thinking that you can keep this contained. Instead of admitting what is going on, you are keeping it a secret. He could have absolutely saved his brother any freaking time he wanted to. Like I said with Johnny True Love and his relationship with his dad, he has not been held accountable for anything. Go through these ups and downs with his troublesome background. And of course, we have his younger brother trying to emulate that. If he wasn't held accountable for anything or made to be anybody than what he is, why should I be any different? I want to go and follow that. So when you do something to one, it ends up trickling down to the other. No matter how hard old Ginger Sharon Stone tried to avoid it and save her son. Now, I don't know if it was displayed in the movie or not, but it does make a difference that, Zach wasn't just there lingering, having a good time, drinking, eating, playing video games. He was at some point, multiple times, giving not only weed, but he was giving Valium, different little things to keep him, really low, really relaxed, and really calm. But I don't really think that made all that much of a difference because he was just so complacent. We see multiple scenarios of him not being tied up, him not being washed, him being left alone, him almost pretty much being pushed out the door by Frankie as to say, can you just run away and I will just look over here? No, I want to be here. Like, this is where I want to stay. And the same, can be said for everybody who is surrounding him. Everybody is just so besides Susan, Susan, who lived across the street from Frankie, was the only one with some sense. Like, it just pissed me off so bad when she tried to go and tell her mother what was going on, but the mama was trying to bounce, chicka wow wow, and she was like, girl, get away from my door from that. I don't care. Like, she was the only one with sense to go, nobody's recognizing what's going on here. Like, all of these children, their environments are just so diluted and privileged that it is a conversation piece and it's a good time. It's laughter. It's a wow moment that he is being kidnapped. But who is really to be the wiser? If you were kidnapped, why are you so comfortable? Why are you not trying to run away? Why do you look like you are living your best life? Meanwhile, Frankie and other people who were there and were aware of what is going on, you are becoming a whole accessory. Like, they were just so freaking casual. Frankie could have walked away at any freaking moment. Like, you chose to be a follower, be complacent, you just take him to your house. Like, oh, okay. Like, never be these people. Shout out to Susan. Susan was the only one in the back who had a little bit of sense. Everybody else, as long as you have, a party house, there's some drinking, there's an opportunity to engage with the opposite sex, and there is an opportunity for a little weed smoke, I am all for it. But what actually kept this situation going on for way longer than it needed to be was the relationship between Frankie and Zach. Now, early on in the movie, you see that Zach is just clamoring to spend time with his brother Jake. Like, can I go with you? Can I hang with you? He is just showing up at the house. He wants so badly to have that close bond. And in a sense of, that little time that he spends with Frankie, he gets that from Frankie, and he is instantly looking up to him, looking up to his lifestyle. I want to be just like this. I'm going to stay here not only because I want to, but I am loving the time that I am spending with Frankie. He likes me and he is enjoying my company. Unlike my own brother, who I am trying my hardest to protect, who can't even say, I know where my brother might be. Let's go get him and secure his safety because he has been kidnapped because I couldn't pay up a debt. Trash. I just didn't understand the logic. You were already just so dead ass scared of somebody like Jake. So once you did something as severe as kidnap his little brother, like, what exactly did you think was going to happen? And he just instilled so much fear in him within this freaking one phone call that was just, oh, it was hell on goddamn, I'll kill you. I was like, oh my gosh. After that, there is no way that I can return him. Matter of fact, let me really touch bases with the family lawyer and just talk about some of the repercussions that could occur from us kidnapping this kid. Like, oh, you could go to jail. You might even go to jail for life. Like, I don't want to deal with one repercussion, and that's whether I have to take a whole ass whooping from somebody like Jake, or if I have to do a little prison time. We need to take this kid out, all while keeping him as well as the people around him, even when it comes all the way down to somebody like Frankie, who was harboring him the most, letting everybody know that eventually we are just going to take him home. He never had any intentions of taking him home after he got that phone call. The logic of what was happening was just blowing my mind. It was just so effortless and easy to think about taking somebody's life to gain what we wanted to happen, which was just to not be accountable for anything, not take an ass whooping. Like, it is just so unbelievable. Like, I can't go to jail, I can't do time, but yeah, nobody told you to participate in kidnapping someone. And they even try to make it worse in the film for somebody like Frankie. We see that he has such a strong dilemma because he's just so connected and is able to, because he is with him for the majority of those 3 days. But once we realize that there may be some ramifications, even if it's a little bit, y'all wasn't gonna go to jail for life. Like, the brilliant idea of, you know what, we could go to jail for life for kidnapping this kid. How about we just kill him? Yeah, that'll make sense. Like, don't do drugs. Now, I in no way felt sorry for Frankie, because at the point that it was put in your face the potential of him even mentioning killing Zach instead of sending him home, he had so many opportunities to do something. Take him home himself, drop him off, just strictly force him to go. He only stayed there as long as he did and was happy to do so because of the attachment that he not only, had to Frankie, but we have him develop a relationship with a girl, like all of these other, like, he is just totally living his best life. But the movie paints it as, Frankie is more so the sentimental character. Maybe we should, feel for him. Maybe he is a little redeemable. Like, in no way, shape, or form, because we did everything except for the right thing. We went and found somebody like Elvis. Elvis was the perfect flunky candidate for a job such as this one. You see so badly that Elvis wants to be in with the Alphas, whether he had, a sexual attachment to somebody like Johnny or not. It didn't have anything to do with that. You see that he wants to be in the in crowd. He wants to fit in. He wants to travel, with the pack, but he is constantly being disrespected, cast aside. I can prove myself, my worth. I can prove that I belong to this piece of nothing. Like, oh my God, hug your kids. Hug your freaking kids, or else they are going to go elsewhere for validation where it is not needed. The way that Elvis behaves in this movie, Johnny True Love is the end all to be all. His opinion and his validation matters to him so much that he is willing to catch a body. Oh man. Now, we do have this little side plot that I felt like was unnecessary. I was like, why did the writers put this here? We do have Zach, pretty much from the looks of it, losing his virginity in the pool with two girls, and there's this whole threesome situation as to kind of say, he had the time of his life before he met his end. That whole situation never actually happened, so I was like, we need that. It's such a somber, sad scene, because you feel like you are in on it with him. It's that sense of, everybody being in on the secret or the joke around you, and you have no clue what's going on. Like, the way that Frankie is pulled in, you can go to jail for life. Like, oh, if I had to hear that one more time, I was just gonna throw up. Just the fact that they thought that this was the best option. I love the fact that we have Johnny True Love's father take heed of what's really going on here via the family lawyer and tells him outright, tell us where the boy is, get him home, stop this, what is going on. At best, we can fix it to where you do a year, maybe 2 years tops of prison time, and then you will come home. Oh no, I can't do it. Like, it just made me so mad. The fact that he thought, these pushovers, these flunkies, they're nothing. They wouldn't no, you've been the pushover, you've been the flunky, you've been the nothing, you've been the one who wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight because you've never actually had to. The people that you have here, They were not, especially Elvis. Like, this was the moment that we saw Elvis display so much, you know, alpha male energy. The way that he stepped up on Frankie's character when he had, you know, downtrodden him the entire movie. It's like, no, this is my moment. Like, he was just so eager to have that sense of power that it led him to take somebody's life. And then you have Frankie there with his tough dilemma. Like, I felt no ways about Frankie. Like, I wanted Frankie to go down with everybody else. The fact that Frankie, the real character, Jesse, is walking around now free as a bird, living his best life in his 30s, it makes me itch. People stay in jail for longer, for less. Like, he's a whole accessory to murder. This dude, you know, put the tape over his mouth and taped up his hands. Like, why is he out walking around free at this very moment? I'm not understanding. I am not understanding. But just that whole revelation of him feeling like, you know, I do want to go home. I'm eager to go home. I do miss my mom. Maybe I am, you know, taking things for granted, not appreciating what's in front of my face. You know, me being coddled and loved and kind of smothered so much by my own mother. I can, you know, see the forest for the trees now, but we couldn't see us heading to the bare open desert. Like, oh, he was just so oblivious. But not even that, just that trust that he had for Frankie. And by the time we got to that hill and it is just absolutely too late and he realizes what's happening and he starts crying, I'm like, oh. And it's just so freaking sad just to, you know, watch him, you know, go up the hill and he's begging for his life. And you have Frankie's slime ass. Like, Elvis was slime, like everybody was slime, but like Frankie, like, yeah, like it bothered me. Like, it just stung so much more with Frankie because he never, like, everybody else never really just gave a damn about him. Like, he looked up to him so much. He kept, you know, I like the kid, but I like the kid. We can't kill the kid. I like the kid. Like, he's a good kid. Yeah, you did everything, or, you know, you liked everything but the right thing. You didn't like him enough to call, get him some help, to just put him in the car and drive away and leave. Like, there were so many options, so many phone calls that could have been made, so many different steps that could have been took, so many different scenarios. But somehow we ended up on top of that trail on that hill, right there to, you know, see his life be taken away. Like, oh, I just wanted to punch Elvis in the freaking face. They just thought that this was going to be the end all to be all when we have seen, I don't know, all of 100 witnesses throughout the movie with all of the different homes that you took him to, all of the different parties, the people on the biking trail, the people in the apartments, the people on the street. Like, y'all really thought that this was going to be it. But just to, you know, see him stand there and beg for his life. And Frankie, I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just so sad. Like, I watched that scene twice. I did cry the first time because I was just so sad, because at that moment, you just see how much of a child, like, you see it throughout the entire movie, but at that moment, it was just like, it just looked like a baby. I was like, oh, I just couldn't receive it at that moment. And then you have Frankie there. I just wanted Frankie, it's gonna be May. I just wanted Frankie's face out of my face. Like, I just wanted Justin Timberlake out of my face, because in that moment I wanted so badly for him to save him, and he just did not follow through. But in the end, outside of Zach's mother, it just really felt like we didn't get any closure with the family. We didn't spend a whole lot of time with Zach's mother's here, but we do have kind of a time jump in her giving an interview, and you kind of see how downtrodden and broken she is. The real life mother, you know, tried to, you know, take herself out a couple of times. She was hospitalized, severe drinking problem. Like, this has broken this family down forever. She lost her son. Like, it is just so freaking terrible. I really wanted some closure with Jake's character, the half-brother Benjamin. I just wanted to see or hear, or I just needed something. Like, all of you could have stepped in. You could have done something. This was your brother. But I looked for maybe interviews, articles, something. Like, there was absolutely nothing. There are a few articles of him pretty much talking about the injustice and, you know, the behavior from everybody else, especially when we get into Johnny Truelove's character. But he doesn't mention or say anything about himself. Now, from what I can find, from my understanding, he is clean and sober now. He's a father, you know, upstanding. But it's just like, how do we even go on after that. Like, I just really want to hear what he has to say. And then we get into, you know, goddamn Elvis. Elvis gets caught, like, of course, because, you know, once we get back to reality and realize what we did, and we are on the run, and we are looking for, you know, safety. Like, oh, no, nobody's taking you in. Are you crazy? Like, he gets caught. He gets the death penalty, and I believe that he is still waiting for that to, you know, come down the pipeline to this day. And we get into Frankie. Frankie got 10 years, I believe. 10 to life. I think he did 10 or 11, and he got out, and he is young, healthy, striving, and living his best life. That bothers me so much because we see so many other people go to jail for so much less. Then we get into old Johnny True Love. Like, okay, Johnny, with the help of, you know, several friends, family members, girlfriend, father, grandfather, goes on the run. FBI Most Wanted goes on the run for the upwards of 6 years. 6 years. He only really got caught by the time this movie was in production and being released and about to come out. It, you know, he was off living his best life. Changed his hair, changed his name, job as a English teacher or English writing teacher. We've been, you know, to Canada, to Brazil, and of course, no accountability is on his part from his father. His parents know nothing, even down to the fact of us sending him an allowance every month for every month that he was gone and on the run for those 6 years. Father, family, grandpa sending him money. He has a job. He's met another woman, got her pregnant on the beach until he got caught. Like, don't do drugs. Don't try to prove yourself to be an alpha male. Don't be a follower. Just a whole lot of don't. Like, this was very, very disappointing and really sad. Like, I don't have any words. Well, you guys, that was my review for Alpha Dog. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this movie and what you thought about my review. Have you seen this movie? If so, just comment, like, because I was so done with this movie, I swear. If you have not, you know, seen this movie, please go and check it out and come back. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say. I hope you enjoyed your time here. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys know I am struggling right now with this channel, but I am trying so hard to keep it up and still give you guys content. So thank you so much for supporting me. I see you guys next time for my next video. Bye.